cooking for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, my email's up, I just can't open anything. So I can't open any of my attachments and.
Good evening and welcome to the January 18th South Lyon Community Schools Board of Education meeting. Calling the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Mrs. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Dashner,
I am here.
Mr. Kennedy,
I'm here.
I am here, Mr. Schwegler,
Here.
Mr. Abate,
Here.
Ms. Younkless Pierce,
I am here.
and Mr. Leftwich.
Here.
Okay, all 7 of us are here. We have a quorum. If you could please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance So tonight is our organizational meeting where we elect the officers of the board. I will open up this section with soliciting nominations for the president position.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Dashner to continue in the role of board president.
I'll support that.
Thank you, Mr. Bate. I will accept the nomination. Are there any other nominations for president? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Ertel, if you call the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Mr. Abate.
Yes.
I vote yes, Mr. Kennedy,
Vote yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Ms. Younkless Pierce,
I vote yes.
and Mr. Dashner.
I vote yes. Motion passes 7-0. I'll congratulate myself.
We appreciate your leadership, Mr. Dashner.
Thank you, Mr. Abate. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the board's throwing me their support towards me again. Next is the nomination, election of the vice president.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Eric Kennedy to continue in the role of vice president.
I will support.
Thank you. I'll accept.
Okay, any other nominations for vice president? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Ertel, call the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Dashner.
I vote yes.
I vote yes, Mr. Kennedy,
I vote yes.
Mr. Abate.
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Ms. Younkless Pierce,
I vote yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Congratulations, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you all for your support.
Next, nomination, election of secretary. I'd like to go ahead and nominate Mrs. Ertel to stay in that role.
I'll second.
Okay,
I will accept.
any further nominations? Okay, Mr. Ertel, call the roll, please.
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Mr. Abate.
Yes.
Mr. Dashner,
I vote yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
I vote yes.
I vote yes, Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Ms. Younkless Pierce.
I vote yes.
Okay, 7-0. Congratulations, Mr. Ertel.
Thank you.
And finally, that brings us to nomination, election of treasurer.
I will nominate Dan Schwegler for treasurer.
Support.
I'll accept.
Any other nominations for treasurer? Okay, Mr. Ertel, can you call the roll again?
Yes, I vote yes, Mr. Kennedy,
I vote yes.
Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mr. Abate,
Yes.
Ms. Younkless Pierce.
I vote yes.
Okay, congratulations, Mr. Schwegler, 7-0. So that means our current board is going to maintain as the proposed board for the next calendar year. Up next, we have check signatures. This is where we approve who is able to sign checks on behalf of the district. We have the payroll checks are signed by the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance, accounts payable, and bond expenditures, all the Assistant Superintendents for Business and Finance. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve these check signatures?
I will make the motion to approve the check signatures as presented in item 4.
I'll support.
Okay, motion by Ms. Younkless Pierce, supported by Mr. Schwegler. Is there any comments, questions? Okay, Mr. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dashner,
I vote yes.
I vote yes, Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Ms. Younkless Pierce,
I vote yes.
Mr. Abate.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Board member committee assignments, I would propose to keep those the same for the upcoming year. Is there any comments from the board? Any concerns with that?
None.
Okay, we'll maintain the same list we had last year. We will update it for the Oakland County Schools committees that no longer exist, the ones that got dissolved. And we will, I'll get that committee list to Judy, and she can put it in the meeting minutes for this. Okay, that brings us to our regular meeting. Item 6, school board recognition. I assume that's you, Superintendent Archibald?
It is, thank you. Thank you very much. And for each of the board members, you should have found at your seats this evening a tumbler with an SLCS monogrammed on the side. And hopefully before you put anything in it, you took the gift card to Panera out. But if not, the bagel may be a little soggy. But just a small token of our appreciation. South Lyon Community Schools is joining 537 local and 56 intermediate school districts across Michigan to celebrate January as School Board Recognition Month. School board members work to represent the educational priorities of the school community. They take their responsibilities and their public's trust very seriously. Each individual board member gives selflessly of their time and energy. This includes work in and outside of board meetings, attending school functions, preparing for board meetings and committee meetings, reviewing financial reports, agendas, proposals, and making many and often very difficult decisions and more. The work of the Board of Education members often goes unrecognized. For nearly 2 years, our school board has provided steadfast resolve through a steady flow of adversity and challenge. Their focus has students at its center, with the primary objective of providing for the best educational opportunities for our students. As a school community, we can take solace in the fact that no matter what challenges lie ahead in 2022, our school board members will continue to lead in a manner that provides an exceptional education for all SLCS students. And I ask that everyone join me in recognizing the South Lyon Community Schools Board of Education members, Mr. Abate, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Dashner, Ms. Ertel, Mr. Schwegler, and Ms. Junkelis-Pierce, and Mr. Leftwich. Everybody thought I was going to forget the one closest to me. I almost did. But again, if you would join me in expressing our appreciation for their unwavering dedication, leadership, and service to our wonderful school district. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Archibald.
You're welcome.
Item 7,
Now, if I can, Mrs. Judy reminded me this afternoon that as the secretary of the board, I was one tumbler short, and so I've got to make it up to her now. I did. I happened to forget the most, not that you aren't all important. And apparently working with me every day is not nearly enough reward. So I'll make it up to Judy.
Told him I wanted a bigger one.
So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Item number 7, recognition, South Lyon Area Youth Assistance.
Yep. You may recall during this time of our Board of Education meetings, we like to celebrate some of the great achievements, students, staff, as well as relationships with our school community. So tonight we're fortunate to have members from the South Lyon Area Youth Assistants, who we do have a great relationship with, and Bob Ziegler is going to share some information about the youth assistants.
Thank you for having us with you to explain a little bit about what we do. Many of you already know what we do, but some of you are new to the board and haven't seen us before, so it's great to have the opportunity. I have a few of the members of, there's 2 volunteers, Al and Sharon, our committee chair people, and Doreen is our case counselor. And I'll have Doreen tell you a little bit about what she does before we tell about some of the other things that we do.
Hi there, thank you for having us and for the partnership with the school district. So I have master's level social worker. I get referrals from the school district, from parents, and also from the police department. We are doing like a hybrid program right now, so I'm doing a lot of virtual meetings, but we're kind of going back in slowly, and then all school threat cases, I must meet them in person. I had last year 164 cases, which in addition to what I already had, was the highest number that I've had since my 8 years here. I will say most of them were anxiety or educational neglect or truancy. So we've been trying to work with all those, sorry, I can't breathe through this mask. We've been trying to work with all those families to set goals and objectives. It is a voluntary service, but we're plugging away and still working hard.
Thank you, Doreen. And I just want to give you a little history of youth assistance in Oakland County. There are 24 areas just like ours with a youth assistance program, and there's 26 school districts, so a couple of them are combined. It was started in 1955 in Hazel Park, where a judge and a group of community members wanted to help prevent juvenile delinquency. It's grown and expanded. We in South Lyon were started in 1962, so we've been here quite a while, helping youth keep from getting into trouble. And the way the caseworker situation works is that when a youth has a minor offense, like shoplifting or truancy, they are referred to Doreen, and then she invites the family to come with the young person to see what can be done to resolve the problem and prevent it in the future. It helps the court from having to have a child go to court and get some other court record on their with them. The important things, there's two parts, there's the counseling part and then there's the volunteer programs that help youth not even get into trouble with the law. Some of those programs all of them are listed in the brochure I passed out, and I'll have some brochures I'll put at the back for all the guests to take them, because we're always looking for volunteers to help us with our programs. And I'll have Al talk about one of the nice programs, which is the Youth Recognition Program.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Al Credit. I am a volunteer board member for South Lyon Area Youth Assistance. I do have the pleasure of serving as the committee chair for Youth Recognition. That is a wonderful program where we get to celebrate volunteerism for our kids basically from 6th grade to 12th grade. They get recognized in an awards ceremony, and then our seniors are actually awarded a scholarship for their next level of education. I've been a board member now for the last 5 years, and throughout the program, it's grown exponentially every year. We couldn't do it without the school teachers and counselors for nominating the students, and then throughout the community of National Honor Society and Blessings in a Backpack and all these wonderful organizations that are tied to our community, we get a chance to recognize our youth for participating. And just wanted to at least let you guys know that that is something we still continued even in the pandemic. We've improvised and went remote, so we had a nice slideshow and presentation. Normally I get to kind of MC and let the kids walk up and wave at everybody at St. Joe, and we have a nice breakfast to go along with it. But there's lots of opportunities to, volunteer, celebrate. I think our flyer doesn't do it half as justice. If you guys ever get a chance to participate in some of the events, they're always a lot of fun, and I think they do a great job throughout the community.
Okay, thank you, Al. And some of our other programs are family education, where we put on programs for the parents who are sometimes struggling with working with their children. there is also a program for scholarships for low-income families that need some assistance financially for their child to have a program, for example, playing football. There's karate is one of the programs that seems to be popular. And so we provide some extra funds to help them. One of my favorite programs is back-to-school shopping. And this year we had quite a few students that were given, we used gift cards. Usually we go shopping with the child and help them pick out back-to-school clothes. And these are for low-income families. They have to qualify. And it helps, I think, the child's esteem, feeling that they are dressed properly for school so that they are not looked upon as having clothes that are not as good. There is also a summer camp that I like real well. The participation this year was small because of COVID. We only had 6 young people that went to camp, but it's a good experience to get away for the family, for the child. I think the child benefits the most, but the parents also get a little vacation for a week, so that's a nice feature. And the experience that, because we usually have the students write a letter, and the thankfulness and the appreciation and what they got out of it is really heartwarming. Some of the other programs that is the summer enrichment program that is open to all the students, and students spend about 6 weeks and they develop plays. There's two groups, the middle school and the elementary, and they develop a play and put it on, and the benefit is that they get self-confidence for getting up in front of an audience and doing a participating play. And I've enjoyed those, and I feel it's really, really worthwhile. And there's some others listed in the brochure. I won't take any more time to talk about it. I'd like to thank the school board for the sponsorship. We have sponsors, the city of South Lyon, Lyon Township, Green Oak Township, Salem Township, and they support us financially. But the school board gives us office space and telephone service and the internet, and that is appreciated. And then we have the communication that we do with the staff. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. I know I
If
speak
you
on
have any
behalf,
questions, I'd be glad to answer your questions.
I know I can say on behalf of the board, we appreciate that everything you and your staff do. You know, we've seen the impact of it with some of the students, and it's just amazing what you do. We thank you for it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item number 8, public comments. As of right now, I only have 1 card. I suspect more of you will come up with them. But up first, we have Mr. Nico Campo. We ask that you keep everything to 3 minutes, please.
Hi, I'm Nico Campo. I'm a junior at South Lyon East High School. First, I would like to thank you guys for keeping us in school and not going virtual and allowing us to have student sections and gatherings in the school and being able to kind of just stay somewhat normal. One of the first things I would like to talk about is just the math situation in school. I feel like it's become a bigger focus than it needs to be. It's become bigger than learning and the teachers having connections with us. Like, teachers have come up to me. I've gone through the halls just looking down or talking to my friends, not realizing it falls below my nose, and they bump into me, or I had a teacher come up to me with a whiteboard, bump into me in my chest with a whiteboard, tell me to read it that says pull your mask up, and I just didn't really feel the need to want to pull it up for that, you know. And then there's other teachers that grab me and push me, and for not really aggressively, just kind of put hands on me about it. And I also don't see how it's important, and the reason for having the only place we have to wear masks and it's mandated is in schools, nowhere else, because I've been to football games and college football games where there's 115,000 people or 75,000 people in the stadium, and not a single person has a mask, and you don't hear about any issues with COVID there. There's other people, and I've had my friends have it, mental problems with it. I last year went through it for months with, I had anxiety. I had to see a therapist about it. I had depression, and I had just no motivation to do anything because I just hated it so much. And a lot of my friends haven't been the same either. They haven't been as social, you know, being tucked behind a mask and told not to talk to people in the hallways and just keep moving. They've changed a lot, and that's pretty much that for the mask thing. And then I also wanted to talk about freshman year. I remember the first half anyway, before COVID happened, was it was pretty fun. I remember loving to go to school, just loving to be there, go see my friends and everything, which is how it should be. And I remember in school there was vending machines you could go to. You paid for lunch. There was different things like school store, like things that would kind of be fun and keep school fun and interesting. And that all like went away with COVID, and it hasn't come back. And I've heard things like they don't want people gathering at vending machines and don't want people gathering to pay for food, when the free lunches, there's bigger lines than I've ever seen before. Like half the lunches up there, half the lunchrooms up there, there's 200 kids at one time up there. And there's just, I would like to be able to pay for better food now, because it's just, they don't put any effort into it anymore, it seems like. And it's just,
Sorry,
it's,
this thing won't die.
no, it's all right. It's just, it's hard to remember being in freshman year and how fun it was and how I wanted to go to school and be a part of that. And now I just have no want to be there at all. My friend came up to me today, actually, came out of 5th hour, and was just like, this is so repetitive. There's nothing that makes me want to be here anymore. And he just almost walked out and just went and got in his car and went home because he was just so upset and not wanting to be there. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had about that.
Thank you, Nico. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, Miss Crystal Springer. You can go ahead. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Crystal Springer. I'm currently a lunch and recess supervisor and PTO member with Pearson Elementary. On Friday, I received a call from a close friend with alarming news about a Centennial staff member and asked what she needed to do to report inappropriate behavior towards her child. Already being at Pearson working, I immediately went to the office to seek the knowledge to properly help this South Lyon family. Our secretaries were amazing in quickly helping her. One even called Brian Toth right there, who instructed the family to call Centennial Middle right away and speak to the principal, Jackie Burry. Thinking, okay, great, everyone needs to know, who knows, we'll help this family sort this out today. That was at 10 a.m. on Friday morning. That could not be the furthest thing from the truth. This parent was sent to voicemail even after sharing with the school secretary the situation. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Why didn't the secretary place this parent on hold and immediately get the principal? How is voicemail an acceptable response to a parent reporting unwanted advances from a staff member? More importantly, why didn't you, Mr. Toth, follow up with the middle school that day to make sure that we had heard the parent's concerns? Where was the follow-through? Since we failed this parent in quickly reacting to the situation, the student was forced to be in the staff member's presence at lunch again on Friday. We did absolutely nothing to protect her. Instead, we made her face her offender another day, creating an unsafe environment for this student. I'm so sorry. By 2 p.m. on Friday, I thought it was odd I hadn't heard back from my friend, so I followed up. To my surprise, nobody had called her back. No one. No one returned a call from the voicemail she left at 10 a.m., not even a follow-up from Mr. Toth. I had left Pearson already for the day, but called our secretaries to see what I was supposed to do. The instruction was to call the middle school again, and this time not get off the phone until she speaks with the principal. This parent was able to speak to Mrs. Burry, who was told it's too late into the day to do anything. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. How is being told it's too late in the day an acceptable answer? So you mean to tell me that on a holiday weekend, we thought as a district that it's appropriate to reply to a situation and have this family wait 4 more days for anything to be done? This is unacceptable. Mrs. Berry also stated that the family that this staff member likes to make connections with students. I'm in my 3rd year of doing lunch and recess, and I've never put my hands on a student to make a connection. I'm actually friends with some of these families outside of school now, and I still don't put my hands on them. I sent an email to Mr. Archibald and Mr. Toth expressing how unacceptable the situation was to only get an untimely reply with excuses of how my email went to spam folder. That was the only reason my email was seen, was because the school principal sent it, which is weird to me because I never sent her an email. I only sent it to Mr. Archibald and Mr. Toth. I was told in Mr. Toth's reply that an investigation was being taken place. That is also the furthest thing from the truth, because at that time, nothing had been done. Here we are 4 days later, we finally meet with the family to tell them that this staff member not only drove a bus this morning, but was also at their lunch shift. No videotapes were reviewed as of this morning, so here we are already, how were we already investigating it on Saturday? When has it ever been the appropriate response to protect the offender and not the offendee? In this case, a child, a student, a female with legitimate concerns, who should feel safe and protected while at school. What are the T9 protocols, and why can I not find it on the website? And why are we following protocols that protect the offender and not the student? School should be a safe place. The next sentence will be a tough one to swallow. Why are we more responsive to a school shooting 40 minutes away, close school for 2 days, rework our school protocols to better protect our students, but the response to a staff member inappropriately touching a student gets tabled for 4 days, and then the family is told the student can eat lunch in a different room? I'm sorry, as a district again, we thought removing the student, who finally was brave enough to speak up from the situation, was okay. The appropriate response is removing the staff member pending an investigation, so that all female students, not just her, could feel safe, because that is not just, it's unacceptable. As an employee in this district, we are to be advocates for these students. Mr. Toth, you lost sight of that on Friday. Jackie Berry lost sight of that on Friday. Putting my work status aside with the district, I'm also a parent of 3 female students who will have to go through Centennial Middle. This situation does not tell me that we have our students' best interests at heart. It tells me that even though we are short-staffed across the district, saving this staff member is more important than the welfare of a student. Our T9 protocols need to be changed to protect the student, not the staff member. I'm not asking an innocent staff member to lose their job. I'm asking you to do yours. The student, their welfare, their safety should be priority, and you lost sight of that. You need to do better. You can consider this my 2 weeks' notice. I refuse to work for a school district that sweeps inappropriate behavior from staff members under the rug. I refuse to work with staff members and educators who have lost sight of the priority, which is the students. Thank you.
Up next, we have Brian Miller, or is it Miller or Milder? Milder. Sorry about that.
All right. Well, I'm here to discuss kind of the other side of what her rebuttal was, or what her conversation was. And I'm a parent. I have 2 kids. I have an 8th grade daughter that's at Centennial Middle School. I have a sophomore in high school at South Lyon as well, South Lyon Old. As a parent, there's nothing more than that's scarier than somebody putting your hands on a kid. I can't put that into words. I don't know what I would do if I was the one that got that phone call, or if I got that talk from my daughter or from my son. I would hope that my character would shine through, but I don't know that it would, you know? But that's just kind of the nature of who we are as parents, and we protect our kids at all costs. So I do agree with what she said. I will also rebuttal, though. I've had the opportunity to know Scott, Mr. Scott.
If you could, let's leave the names out of this,
Okay,
please.
sorry about that. I've gotten the opportunity to know him over about a 32-year period. I've known him. He is a man of God. He is a man of faith. He is also, he's raised his family that way too. He has 2 daughters of his own. I would definitely say that I would without question trust him and have trusted him as a repairman in my house with my daughter, and no questions asked. He's gone with me to football games where my son plays, and the outpouring of children from high school to middle school, and even if there's any elementary kids, they've all high fives, hugs, fist bumps. They, hello, Mr. You know who. It's unbelievable, the outpour. And this is a man that has been in this community his whole life. He went through all of the schools through here. He does have a connection with the kids. I do agree that the hands-on is not the right approach. But in knowing his character, I know in my heart of hearts, I've spoke with him today, I've spoke with his wife today. The slander that happened on Facebook is just something that is unbearable. I mean, it's literally ruining somebody's life. There is no hard evidence yet, and I understand that. But what I understand is that everybody is innocent until proven guilty. I get that. But my concern is that we are so quick as a society now to just blast everything out on social media. And we were all raised, I think, in the same general era that we should address the person, address the problem at hand. And I don't feel that was done that way. This is somebody's livelihood. And I know that he would never go over and beyond and put his hands inappropriately on a child. Obviously, when we hear that, that's the first thing that our mind goes to because of society, and there are a lot of sick weirdos out there. I get that. And I don't want to devalue or make this a light issue to the parents of the young lady. I support the parents. I just think that the biggest thing that we need to focus on is making sure we have all of the facts. I know Mr. Toth, my son went there as well. My son had some issues where there was a lot of bullying going on. And Mr. Toth did what a principal what an admin is supposed to do. He looked through all of the videos, he looked through all of the evidence, and he came up with the conclusion that he came up with. And it was not my son's fault. It was a group of kids that were bullying my son. And so I do have my faith in South Lyon schools, and I know that they're going to do the right thing. And I just hope and pray for the victim and the other party involved that things can be resolved in a proper manner. So, thank you.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak tonight? Thank you, Ms. Corvino.
My name's Miriam Corvino, and I'm from Salem Township. And I really dread coming here and standing up in front of you guys each and every time to talk about things I already know where your position is, because you've told us that I'm here, just for the record, I strongly oppose mask mandates, and I know that you're not into the science of mask mandates, and that you will remain silent on the issue of masks, and it's the job of the school board is about being responsible to the organization. But it's my duty as a mother to follow the science on the masks and to fight for my children's right to breathe fresh, clean, oxygen-dominant air in exchange for their public education and not being forced to breathe, bacteria-ridden, carbon dioxide-dominant air in exchange for their public education. This particular freedom is very important to me. And so what I'd like to do with the remainder of my time, however, is to read into the public record, and this goes back to specifically the intent of the State of Michigan Board of Education, which, as you know, or maybe you don't, had a meeting on January 11th. So I'm going to read into you a post made by the Michigan Democratic Party's official Facebook page, which is run by the Michigan Democratic Party. This is posted on January 17th. Not sure where this parents should control what is taught in schools because they are our kids is originating, but parents do have the option to choose to send their kids to a hand-selected private school at their own expense, if this is what they desire. The purpose of a public education in a public school is not to teach only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community, the public, which, by the way, for anyone who didn't know, is not what the law states, which says that it's natural, fundamental right of parents and legal guardians to determine and direct care, teaching, and education of their children, and it goes on. But the reason I bring this up, because this is exactly the party that at the Michigan State Board of Education brought 2 resolutions to the table on January 11th without them being on the agenda and without them being available anywhere to review ahead of time. And those resolutions were the first one to reject legislation banning CRT in our K-12 curriculum, but to embrace the CRT into the K-12 curriculum, and to also force masking and testing on our kids, and to force masking, testing, and vaccinating on our faculty and staff, which I'm pretty sure the only reason the second resolution didn't pass is because there was some concerns about supply chain on the testing. So if this issue is important to you, you should tune in February 8th. This issue is going to come up again at the State of Michigan Board of Education. It was very important to hundreds of parents across the state who called in for public comment. The meeting went on until like 10 o'clock in the evening. This issue is important to me, and so is CRT, because that does not provide a safe, welcome environment for any kid when we're talking about even the uglies of our history. So I don't know if we have CRT somewhere in our curriculum. I know that Novi was FOIA'd. It's in Rochester. It's in Troy. If it's here, I want you to take pause, because nobody is against teaching the uglies of our history, but it's through the lens, which Nikki, I forget her name, but there are 2 sane people on that Board of Education. If you listen to the meeting, you'll know exactly who they are. I oppose that kind of environment for our kids, and I oppose forcing them to breathe dirty, bacteria-ridden, carbon dioxide dominant air, which has physical health issues that come along with it and mental health issues that come along with it, regardless of if you follow the science or not. So I think we're pretty lucky that this didn't pass, because then I guess it would be even easier, though, to throw your hands up and say, well, it's not our mandate, which seems to be the theme. But there you go. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thanks, Sean.
Hi, good afternoon, or good evening, Happy New Year. Wanted to start with a quick thank you to the administration. When we look at this school year and compare it to last school year, you folks have really pivoted away from being an extension of the health department to being more focused on educational excellence. I wanted to say thank you, because in comparison to last year, we've come a long ways. So thank you. We recognize as parents that we've been in school a lot more than the districts to the east. There's been less restrictions on spectators at sporting events. You've pivoted and changed the quarantine guidelines as needed. Thank you. We recognize that. We really do, and we want to say thanks. We're still not there yet. We heard Nico talk. I didn't even know he was going to talk. We're still not there yet. As long as Oakland County Health Department continues to enforce this mandate through MCL 3332453, the district is still hamstrung by being an extension of the health department. I know you've pivoted a ton. We appreciate it, and we still have a ways to go to keep focusing on educational excellence. We've heard from the board and the administration there's not much you can do, but we've gone to Oakland County. The parents have gone to the Board of Commissioners meetings. They closed the meetings down for clapping. Dave Coulter, his staff, the health department staff, they don't respond to emails. They don't respond to phone calls. Our own local commissioner right here in South Lyon that works and lives in South Lyon does not respond. We have no voice as parents into these other organizations that have influence on you folks. Really hope that you would use your position somehow to
get a coalition with other administrations in the district, get a coalition with other board members in the district, or not in the district, in the county, to go to the Oakland County Health Department and literally beg them and say, hey guys, when does this end? What metrics are there? I mean, I've read the order. The order says when it's not moderate anymore, or when it's moderate for at least 14 days. Well, it's not really a metric on when we get there. Are we going to be here again in 2 years still because they'll never lift the mandate? There's got to be something you can do in the role of your position with having a little bit more elevated position than just an individual parent going to these meetings. So please, don't stop. Keep pushing the needle forward. We've also, from a legal standpoint, heard we're following the Oakland County order because our attorney tells us this is the best course of action. I understand that. In the corporate world for the last 30 years doing intellectual property contracts and business contracts, the role of an attorney in an environment is to define the risk and help mitigate the risk. I understand that. They've defined the risk for you. But, now that we're 2 years into this, there's things that are much bigger risk that we've had to worry about. We've had cardiovascular death with students, with staff. We've had unfortunate suicide increases. We've had, unfortunately, murder. We've had things that are significantly more risky to manage than anything COVID related. It is really time that we as a community start pushing back, and that includes you folks, right? We don't want to hear any longer there's nothing you can do. Please try and find something you can do, whether it be coalitions with other districts to go to the county and or go back to your attorneys and say, hey guys, can we really kind of get around this somehow because the risk isn't that big anymore. So again, just in closing, thank you for the pivot this year. It has been significantly better. We're just not there yet. We've got that much farther to go. Please keep moving forward. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Item number 9, approval of agenda. One thing I would like to mention is that a bond project approval item got left off. I would like to add that to the agenda as item 13B to bid the paving bids for Millennium Middle School. I'd like to get a motion to approve the agenda with said change.
I'll move to approve the agenda with the addition of item 13B.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Kennedy, support by Mr. Abate. Is there any discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor of approving
Can you clarify what agenda item that's going to be?
13B?
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, approval of meeting minutes. We've got December 7th special meeting and regular meeting, January 5th special meeting, and January 13th special meeting to be approved.
Move to approve the minutes of December 7th regular and special meeting, January 5th special meeting, and January 13th special meeting.
Support.
Okay, that was moved by Mr. Kennedy, support by Mrs. Ortel. Any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, pass 7-0. Approval of bills. We've got,
I'll move to approve the bills as presented. I'll support.
okay, moved by Mr. Schwegler, supported by Mr. Leftwich. Any discussion, questions? Okay, Mr. Ortel, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
I vote yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Hiring of instructional staff. Mr. Toth?
Yes, thank you. So we did have some changes in our staff, and we were happy to report that we have 3 new staff members joining us: Julie Hollinsworth at Centennial, Trey Richmond at Centennial, and Dawn Motley, an elementary art teacher. And the recommended action is to approve the hiring of the 3 teachers listed above.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the hiring of the instructional staff, Julie Hollinsworth, Dawn Motley, and Trey Rickman, as outlined in item 12.
I'll support that.
Okay, moved by Mr. Leftwich, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Ortell, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Kennedy.
Vote yes?
I vote yes. Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Mr. Dashner?
Yes?
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Ms. Youngquist Pierce?
I vote yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Welcome to Julie, Dawn, and Trey. Item number 13, middle school academic support classes.
Yes, both middle schools are currently piloting an academic support class elective. The course is designed to improve study, advocacy, and organizational skills for struggling learners while supplementing academic instruction. Teacher, administrator, and social worker and/or counselor recommendation is required for enrollment, so students can't opt into the class without being referred by one of those people. The course is available for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. The feedback so far on the pilot from both students and staff has been very positive. We are recommending that you approve the middle school academic support class for formal adoption as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Kudwa.
I'll move to approve the middle school support classes.
I'll
Support.
Who wants it?
Support.
Okay, I'll give it to Mr. Tell. Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mr. Tell. Is there any comments or questions? Okay, you call the roll, Mr. Tell?
Yes, Ms. Youngquist Pierce?
I vote yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Dashner?
Yes?
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. That brings us to our new item 13B, which would be the Bond 2020 Millennium Middle School paving replacement bid approval. Are you handling that, Superintendent Archibald?
I will handle that, thank you. Again, this is the middle school paving replacement bid approval. The background information, this agenda item was presented to the Faculty Planning, or Facility Planning Committee on January 11th, and was approved to go to the board on January 18th for approval. The recommendation is to award the bid to the lowest qualified bidder, T&M Asphalt Paving, in the amount of $1,070,000. I did confirm that this is a company that has done work in the district and very familiar with the district, familiar with the project, and someone we're very pleased with. But again, recommending that we award the bid to T&M Asphalt Paving.
Thank you.
I'll move to award the bid to T&M Asphalt Paving for the Millennium Middle School.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mr. Abate. Discussions, questions? One thing I'll say is that the project will take care of the bird bath at the entrance to the middle school drop-off loop, which I'm sure is important to a lot of people. Mr. Tell, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Kennedy?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Dashner?
Yes.
Ms. Youngquist Pierce?
I vote yes.
Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
And Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Item number 14, Navigate 360 purchase. Is that you, Ms. Kudla?
Yes, you broke apart my agenda items there, Mr. Dashner. For the past
Bottom of the page is the best place to put the new one.
For the past few years, our district has used the Comprehensive School Threat Assessment Guidelines, which is known as CSTAG, and you may know it as, until 2018, it was referred to as the Virginia Student Threat Assessment Model, which is the name they're using a lot of times in the media regarding this model. We also use the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale, CSSRS. These tools are used to inform decision-making regarding suicidal ideation and threats, and to help ensure students and schools are safe. Crisis team members, such as administrators, social workers, counselors, and school psychologists, all utilize these tools in our district currently to conduct risk assessments. We intend to continue using both tools and want to provide updated training to all crisis team members who will utilize the tools. Additionally, we're seeking a training option that is readily accessible to more staff members, as well as a secure manner in which to store the documentation when we do need to use the tools. Navigate 360 is a company that offers a portfolio of safety programs for local communities. They have a variety of programs and services available for districts, including options related to behavior threat assessment, suicide awareness, and prevention. Specifically, Navigate 360 offers training and programs to support the implementation of CSTAG for threat assessment and the CSSRS screening tool. Navigate 360 offers a behavioral threat and suicide case management system. That is a secure platform in which CSTAG and CSSRS assessments are housed and managed. It provides school crisis team members the ability to monitor implementation and support plans as they're implemented to make sure that the assessments are fully completed and students have the support they need after the assessment. Since it is often the case that multiple school support staff members and school administration are all working in collaboration on one particular case, this allows organization within a secure location for all of the team members to provide their input into those documents, and then to continue working together to provide ongoing support and planning for that student. Additionally, this system will help users through the completion of the screeners by providing guiding prompts, which will help to ensure fidelity of implementation of the research-based risk assessments. The purchase we're bringing to you tonight covers 2 virtual sessions, one asynchronous and one live, and staff would participate in both. For 60 identified crisis team members, all school and central office administrators, counselors, social workers, and the school psychologists, on the use of the CSTAG threat assessment model and the guidebook for that model. Additionally, it provides the initial setup and 1 year of use of the district's case management platform. Also included in the purchase is 1 year of access for all staff in the district to a catalog of virtual suicide awareness and prevention courses. The total cost for the purchase is $46,935 to be paid for from the School Aid Fund Equalization Grant, Section 11R4. As we want to train larger quantities of staff in these models for the remainder of the year, we're bringing the purchase tonight for both information and approval so that we can get dates on the calendar for those trainings and move forward with those trainings. And we are recommending that you approve the purchase of Navigate 360 for a total cost of $46,935, again to be paid from the School Aid Equalization Grant, Section 11R4. And then Ms. Ingboom is here tonight to answer any questions you may have about that purchase.
Thank you, Ms. Kudwa. Any questions anybody would like to ask?
I do have a question. For those who weren't part of the committee meeting, you had mentioned this is what we're currently using in the district, right?
These are the models we are currently using. We are happy with how the models are working for us. We would like the more robust training that officially certifies everybody, can give more staff members access so that more staff members can be supporting in these situations, and then the secure system for housing any completed or ongoing assessments.
Do you know roughly when we implemented this program?
We implemented them at different points. CSSRS has been piloted since,
I would say at least since 2018, is 2018-19, but I would have to go back and double check my notes for like an exact year, but it was roughly the 18-19 school year. And then the last time that Oakland Schools offered training on the threat assessment model, like a large-scale training, was roughly the 2018 school year, which is part of why we were looking for a system where we could provide more consistent virtual training so that as we do have new staff members who come on board, we are able to provide training through a certified trainer on a consistent basis without having to look at either flying in somebody because there's national people who are certified to do this. So without looking at either flying somebody in or waiting for either an ISD or trying to partner with another district to be able to bring somebody in so that we were able to host a large-scale training. So this platform provides us the opportunity, and the platform has partnered directly with one of the primary authors of the Comprehensive School Threat Assessment Guidelines, the CSTAG, in developing the actual training. So they are actually a sole source provider of the virtual training option.
Who would we be putting through this training? Would it be all the teachers and administrative staff?
no, it'll be the counselors, social workers, psychologists, and all district administrators.
And then for the suicide awareness and prevention training, we have access to essentially like a portfolio of different courses and options that we have available for all staff members. But specifically for the CSTAG portion, that is for the multidisciplinary team that works through the threat assessment process.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just want to comment, I appreciate how thorough this is. I appreciate that that we're putting some really key folks through that training. And I'd just like to say from my perspective, I hope we continue to prioritize having our school psych, social workers, counselors in particular, managing those assessments, because those are the folks who have that specialized training and really have their finger on the pulse in those situations. And those are important items for us to have as a board if we end up in a situation with a hearing and so forth. So I'm glad to see this is great. This is really good stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, if that's it, I'll look for a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the purchase of Navigate 360 for a total cost of $46,935 to be paid from the School Aid Fund Equalization Grant, Section 11R, Sub 4.
I will second that.
Okay, it was moved by Ms. Youngquist Pierce, supported by Mr. Abate. Is there any further questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mrs. Zertel, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Ms. Yankless Pierce.
I vote yes.
Mr. Schweigler.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Abate.
Yes.
Mr. Dashner.
Vote yes.
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
And Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Kudla and Ms. Wong. I've never seen the last name. I'm sorry. Item number 15, Visual Basics 1 course title change to Introduction to Computer Science.
Yes, both of our high schools currently offer an elective computer science course called Visual Basic, which references the computer programming language that was taught in the course. Visual Basic is no longer as common in today's industry, so we are looking to shift the title and the course description in order to keep the course relevant to industry standards. The new title and course description will allow for staff to adjust computer languages used as the market shifts and changes. So while the standards and units will remain the same, that the skills students are learning, they'll be taught in a different computer programming language or possibly several computer programming languages. And we will still be meeting all of those same standards. So not a shift in the outcomes of the course, a shift in the process through which we are teaching it. The course's new title will be Introduction to Computer Science, as it references the subject matter but doesn't specifically name a programming language, which gives us some flexibility in the future. The new description would allow this introduction of newer computer languages as they become available, and this will provide more relevant experience to better prepare our students for programming assignments in college as well as the job market, and we are recommending that you approve the updated course title and course description as presented.
Thank you. Anyone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the updated course title and course description as presented.
And I'll second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Tell, support by Mr. Leftwich. Any questions, comments?
I just want to say great work on that. It's really difficult to stay abreast in the IT landscape right now. As a person who's in that area, it is constantly changing, and it seems like there's a new language every day. So being able to adapt like this and give flexibility to the instructors and potentially bringing in outside people to help train on this will give our students a leg up in their future.
Thank you. Mr. Tell, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Ms. Yankless Pierce.
I vote yes.
Mr. Abate.
Yes.
Mr. Schweigler.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
And Mr. Dashner.
Yes. Okay, motion passes 7-0. Item number 16, acceptance of a gift.
The South Lyon East Robotics team received a donation of $2,000 from Golden Refrigerant to be used for supplies, materials, and travel. Recommended action is to accept the gift in accordance with Policy 7003.
Thank you.
I'll move to accept the gift. Let's try that.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Ms. Youngquist Pierce. Comments, questions?
Tremendous fundraisers, our robotics
I know.
folks.
We-
Just
we need to
amazing.
give a class
And
on fundraising.
amazing generosity from the community to support that. Appreciate it.
Yes, they get a lot of great support. I'm sure they work hard for it. Mr. Tell, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Kennedy.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Mr. Abate.
Yes.
Ms. Yankless Pierce.
I vote yes.
Mr. Schweigler.
Yes.
Mr. Dashner.
I vote yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item 17, another gift.
South Lyon High School received a donation of $930 from Mark DeBarrow, founder of DeBarrow Charity. The funds are to help students and families during the holiday. Please accept the gift in accordance, again, with Policy 7003.
I move to accept the gift in accordance with policy 7003 with thanks.
I'll support with thanks.
Okay, moved by Mr. Tell, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Any more discussion? Okay, Mr. Tell, if you call the roll, please.
Yes, I vote yes. Mr. Kennedy?
Yes?
Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Ms. Jenkless Pierce?
I vote yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
And Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes. Motion passes 7-0. And item 18 is our third gift of the night.
Yep, another gift to South Lyon High School from the DeBarrow Charity. Gift cards were donated to support families during the holiday season. And again, please accept this gift in accordance with policy 7003.
Thank you.
I'll move the acceptance of the gift as outlined in item 18.
I'll support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Leftwich, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Discussion?
Again, we're very generous. That's a wonderful gift. Appreciate it very much.
Okay, Mr. Tell, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, I vote yes. Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Ms. Jenkless Pierce?
I vote yes.
Mr. Dashner?
Vote yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Thank you to everyone in the community that donates. It is greatly appreciated. That brings us to our information and inquiry section. Item 19, administration, revisions to the policy 5010, fixed assets, first reading. Mr. Todd.
Yep, so a big kudos to our policy team because this is the first time since at least April that we've had to bring anything policy-wise related, so the recent changes are working well. The change on this one is the current language reads, "The cost of each item shall exceed $20,000. This is simply going to be changed to "The cost of each item shall exceed the amount set in section 1274 of the revised school code." Rationale being that it changes every year, and instead of bringing this to you to update every year, if we put the school code, then it will just be in line.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions? Seems like a pretty simple one. Okay, moving on, we have a donation to Millennium Middle School Choir from Kathleen Hansen for $50. Again, we appreciate the generosity of our community. Item 12, we have cash donations from various individuals that will be used for library books in remembrance of Mary Schlosky, I believe that is, for a total of $230. Item number D, legislation. Superintendent Archibald?
Nothing to report.
No legislation. CETA comments, Mrs. Kudwa.
Yes, just a few updates, because we're at that point in the year where we're starting to think about next school year. So junior kindergarten and kindergarten registration, prior to COVID, we would host in-person events in January or February, and they really served two purposes. Families would turn in their enrollment paperwork, and then they would also hear a brief overview of what kindergarten was about and how they could get their child ready. Last year sort of forced us to think a little bit differently about what that was going to look like, so we switched everything to enrollment paperwork being turned in online, and then families made appointments. If they needed help getting the enrollment paperwork uploaded into the system, they would just contact the offices directly and get that support. That worked really well for us. If you've been a kindergarten parent here in the district, there's usually a line of people waiting for their paperwork to get copied, and 3 or 4 copy machines are going, and you're crossing your fingers none of them break or shut down during the evening. So this worked really well for us. We're looking at moving forward with the model where people are submitting their paperwork in that secure portal. And then what we'll be doing is pushing out a video that has the informational piece for families. They can watch it at a time that works for them. They can re-watch it if they need to see it a second or a third time. And then principals are available for follow-up questions about the programs if they have it. So I did want to make sure you were aware of that change. So the paperwork will go up this year on Thursday, January 27th, along with the video on our website. We'll push that out in all of our district communication as well. So if you know somebody enrolling a kindergartner in the district, make sure that they are aware that that can start on January 27th. For our planning and staffing purposes, it is very important to our district that we know students are coming by about March or April of this school year, so we can assign how many sections elementaries are going to have of each grade and start getting staff and materials ready. So we do ask our community, please make sure you're completing that enrollment paperwork. Waiting till August is very challenging for us when families choose to do that. Especially with some of the ordering delays that we have. We don't want to be scrambling for materials when the school year begins. We really want to know students are planning to come to our district. So that information is on our website and it's available as well too. And then a little bit about our junior kindergarten program, which is really targeting students in that waiver window. So they're turning 5 between September 2nd and December 1st. Then they would be eligible for that junior kindergarten program. We often do have space available, but you might not get your first choice if you're a summer birthday. So that information is on the website as well too. The deadline to submit those is Friday, February 18th. Families have to decide oftentimes between a paid preschool program and junior kindergarten. So we want them to know if they have a spot and where they have a spot before they would have to submit a deposit to a preschool program. So we do try to get those assignments done very early in the year so that families are aware for next year if they have a placement in junior kindergarten. While we have not yet determined exactly which schools will house those programs next year for junior kindergarten, because it is not offered in every one of our buildings, currently it is at Bartlett, Dolson, Kent Lake, Salem, and Sayre. So that information is all on the website as well, but we will kick off on January 27th, and we're looking for our community to support us by enrolling early if they're planning to attend. Want me to roll right into resident open enrollment, Mr. Dashner?
Yes, please.
So resident open enrollment, you may remember as school of choice. So historically, we were using the language school of choice to refer to two things: students who were requesting to move within our elementary schools but were district residents, and also students who were attempting to enroll in our district but lived outside of our boundaries. So to clarify things, because school of choice is really a widely recognized state term for when students are trying to come into your district, we did split a couple years ago, so I always explain that again, because if you've been here a while, you're used to hearing it called something else. But resident open enrollment refers to that request to move within our district. So that is going to be available once we launch that kindergarten registration. So it'll go out at the end of January as well too, if people are interested in applying for another school. And I did want to make sure that you were aware, as we are doing that, Hardy was a popular selection previously due to their proximity to a lot of large subdivisions and also some child care centers. But we do have Hardy's Blue Wing was specifically built to house our CI and EI programs. So that is where we house those programs. Those students mainstream in for part of their day into those classrooms, and Hardy is an area in our district that has a lot of students already. So Hardy will not be open for resident open enrollment unless a family is already there. If you'll recall from a few years ago, we changed it and said the current resident open enrollment families could continue at Hardy until they were through, but we were not taking new families to Hardy. So that will continue for next school year, but we're not looking at any other restrictions like that for other buildings at this time. Any questions for me on resident open enrollment or kindergarten or junior kindergarten registration? It's all on the website.
What year does next year's kindergarten class graduate high school? 36.
Oh, my goodness.
I know, that doesn't seem possible.
Well, hopefully.
I would have to stop and think about that.
36.
Ms. Junkelis Pierce, you guys made the t-shirts this year. What was the year?
It's terrible because I have a kid in the grade too. I was like, I'm gonna get my phone out and look at my pictures really quick. I feel like it's 2034 for the current class, kindergartners.
Okay.
That's crazy.
That's depressing. Okay, that brings us board committee reports. Legislative, Mr. Leftwich, anything there?
The legislative committee met on the night of one of our special meetings, so I was not able to attend it.
Okay, thank you. Policy, I think we saw your work tonight. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
You heard the one item, working on, we had one little other cleanup piece with some dates, and then we're working on a tweak to our fund balance language because we've had to make amendments in the past and so on, but that will all come to the board to discuss shortly and for everybody. It's a minor tweak, all minor stuff tonight.
Thank you. Finance, Mr. Schwegler.
Speaking of fund balance, due to the just slightly lower enrollment, but much bigger per pupil, we're going to be in some pretty decent shape this year. I believe Stacy had to make some corrections to her sheet, but I believe she's going to be in the neighborhood about 1.8 million being added to the fund balance. There is going to be a shift in a lot of the ESSER funds and expenses, but those offset. So you'll see when you look at your amendment, I believe it'll be next time, there'll be some reductions in both revenues and expenses, and that'll just be shifted a year.
Thank you. Facilities and planning, Ms. Sertel.
Yes, so we heard of one tonight with the middle school paving project. A couple other items that we discussed is, we've gotten some bids back on some projects, one of them being at the high school. With the climate of construction, it came in significantly higher than we had originally budgeted. So one of the we had a couple of options on how to move forward with that. And I think the option that we all agreed upon is pausing it for a year in hopes that the construction costs get a little bit more in line with, what construction should cost. So with that, the Barton Mallow and the admin is looking at shifting some other projects around to try to even it out so that we're not back-ending all of the projects all at once. So they are still going forward with design on some projects, moving forward with other bidding, moving forward with projects in the acceptance. And so we will see some construction over the spring and summer, and we'll just keep moving forward.
Thank you. Curriculum and Communications, Mr. Kennedy.
We did meet last week. Two things you've already seen this evening that we talked about, the Navigate 360 purchase and the kindergarten, junior kindergarten registration dates and specifics. I don't have my notes with me, but if I say this wrong, look for the Lion's Den, the sub-article in the Lion Today that will be coming out.
February 28th.
On February 28th.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, the Oakland Schools Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee has been dissolved and does not exist anymore, so that'll get pulled off for next time. Is there any other?
I'll just add two quick things. In response to some of the, not in response, but in regards to some of the communications tonight, as I don't know that, I've shared this with many folks via email, but not necessarily publicly in the meeting. Several weeks or months back, someone had shared a resolution that the Oxford Board of Education had approved urging the Attorney General for the state of Michigan to offer a legal opinion regarding the difference between, or the confusion, conflict that existed between the public health order for Oakland County and the legislation in Senate Bill 82 that was passed as part of the budget process. In conversation with our attorney, he indicated to me that the only folks who can request a legal opinion of the AG are the governor, some representatives, and some other specific individuals. And so in conversation with the board, we did draft a letter from me to the governor requesting, asking that she request an opinion, a legal opinion, to hopefully clear up that matter. From the response received, I don't sense the request for a legal opinion is going to be forthcoming anytime soon, if at all. I believe the governor feels very confident in her stance that that portion of the legislation is unconstitutional, but nevertheless, since I hadn't shared publicly that step that the board and I had taken, I thought I would share that tonight. And then secondly, we do meet weekly with some of the key folks from the Oakland County Health Department, we being the Oakland County superintendents. And despite, there's pretty diverse opinions with regard to the mask mandate, as you might expect, across Oakland County. They're quite diverse communities. But I asked today, and I will continue to ask, what their plans are and what they intend to do, or their timeline with respect to rescinding the order. We've had very good relations with the Oakland County Health Department, with our nurse, with Mrs. Toth, with me, meeting with them, not only outside the superintendent group, and advocating on behalf of the district, and we will continue to do that. So I don't sit up here and tout all the things that we're doing, but it's important, especially if folks are continuing to come here, that you are aware of some of the actions that we're trying to pace. Should they rescind the order or it's deemed to be illegal, I think this board and the administration is committed to going back to the original plan of masks optional. And, that being said, I think we're about to finish our first semester in the last 4 in which all of our students have been in person for an entire semester. If any of us would have expected in March of 2020 that this would still be going on 2 years later, I'd have lost any money I put down because I figured we were coming back after Easter break the first time. But again, to me, it's important that as a community, we continue to be one, even though we have diverse opinions, we continue to voice those respectfully. And at the end of the day, we only are as strong as we are together, and continues to be an honor for me to represent this group. So just wanted to provide that update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I catch a cold with something, but I know you probably know the data on your head right now, can you comment on what student attendance has been like the last couple of weeks and where that's trending, and then also
Maybe.
Staff members that have been, out sick essentially, and how that's impacted us the last few weeks?
I can. When we first came back from break, at this time of the year, our attendance is probably as a district in the mid 90s to upper 90s, depending. We were anywhere as low as maybe 81 or 80%, so we were down in the low 80s to maybe the high 80s. I get a report now every day for the previous day. Friday of last week, as a district, we were about 88% students in attendance, which, given the current circumstances and what some of our neighbors are confronted with, I think is phenomenal. And we've been moving up over the last couple days, so hopefully that continues. Certainly that is probably influenced by the change in the quarantine, but those are very strong attendance numbers. When we came back from break, we got as high as about 6.5% of our population out for a COVID-related reason, our students. That is now back to, today was just over 3%. So again, I think that's all very favorable, and suggests we're going to be able to stay in person, which is what our goal is. And then from a staff perspective, and I'll let Mr. Toth chime in, we have vacancies in every position each and every day. And if you read the district update this week, which I'm sure you all did, we pointed out that it takes all of our staff in a variety of different areas to pick up additional work and responsibility in addition to their own to get through every single day. We assess through Mr. Toth's office vacancies every day, and then our secretarial staff and administrators and folks are working to move people around, move subs from one building to another to make sure things are covered. Today was probably our best day, perhaps all year, but we were only short, meaning we were able to cover everything with subs at one of our high schools. Now that could change tomorrow, but again, we're trending in a very favorable direction. And I also think, that I want to thank the community and staff, that the thing that we have preached, and I think folks are hearing, is if you're sick, stay home. And that goes a very long way. And anyway, Mr. Toth, anything to add to that? And Mr. Dashner, did I give you any of the information you were looking for?
You did an awesome job. Just want to compliment our staff,
You have
though.
to say that.
Yeah, for sure, yes. But our staff is incredible. They really are. There are days where, you know, in one high school, for instance, we might have 5 teachers out, and the staff is all working on their prep hour, giving up their time to cover the class. Centennial Middle School, as an example, today sent multiple guest teachers to South Lyon High School who was short. So we do have a kind of like a magic number. And today, as Mr. Archibald said, we were in a plus 13. So we have 29 building guest teachers that service each of our schools. So some schools might have 2 guest teachers. The bigger schools might have 3 that are basically permanently guest teachers in that building. And so today was a plus 13, which was awesome to see. And we can use those guest teachers in other ways to support our students and staff. There are other days where it's negative 7.5, and those days are a little bit of a struggle. But again, it's a great testament to our staff, just that every day we've been able to remain open. So they keep bringing it and doing a great job, and hopefully we can keep going forward.
And I'll just add to that, we do have currently 29 building subs assigned to the different buildings that report every day, which has been absolutely invaluable. And today, in the case of the elementary schools where they weren't needed to cover classrooms, then those individuals are assisting with students who are in quarantine or isolation, and trying to make some connections there, or with students have returned from isolation and quarantine to help with them instructionally.
Thank you. I hear occasionally an assistant superintendent might man the playground at an elementary school too.
You never know what you're going to see. But right now we're only at we're at plus, let's see, that would be 17 and a half. So if we go to bed and everyone stays the course, it'd be awesome, because that would be a new record. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you. Sorry to hit you up on the spot, but I do know the numbers. Okay, that brings us to item 21, public comments. Is there anyone that'd like to make a public comment? Come on, Ms. Corvino.
Thank you. This is Miriam Corvino, Salem Township. As you know, I'm strongly opposed to the mask mandates. And I'd like to bring everyone's attention to Michigan's COVID response data updated December 14th on slide 51 that illustrates case data for schools, all students registered in public schools 0 to 18, where you can see that the mask required data, case data, is just a smidgen higher than the no masks required case data. So this clearly isn't about health. Omicron isn't being stopped by any mask. In fact, if you visit the CDC website and look at their understanding the difference on the different types of masks you can wear, CDC on surgical masks does not provide the wearer with reliable level of protection from inhaling smaller airborne particles and is not considered respiratory protection, which if you didn't know, the virus before it was Omicron, I don't know if it's any smaller now, but it was like 40,000 times smaller than a strand of hair. So I want the public to be aware of that. And I also want all of our community to understand what happened at the state Michigan Board of Education meeting. It was really super underhanded. It was really slimy, in my opinion. And for those of you who work for a living and have families and don't have time, I mean, I don't work for a living anymore, so I do have time to sit through a 10-hour meeting. I typed up the transcript for you, and you're welcome to email me at patriotmbc@protonmail.com, and I'll send this to you. And it has links, active links to all the data that I just provided and then some. And I think while I have the floor, I would also like to know this ESSER funding. Is it by chance a requirement of this current school year ESSER funding? I noticed that we had a pending plan, but I wasn't privy to see what that plan was. Does it require the mitigation strategy to include universal and correct wearing of masks in order to receive the answer is no. Thank you.
No funding tied to masking.
I'm sorry, I don't need to be engaged, but thank you. Superintendent Archibald, stop. Thank you. I appreciate your response because it is so much better to hear something like, we're trying to do something to get you some answers, than our position on mask mandates is silence. That is unacceptable. And thank you for all of your help. And if anybody else has been doing something and I don't know about it, thank you, because that's all we're asking. Hear us. The data behind these masks did not support the mandates, period. Let me see, what else did I have here? Oh, I went to Ohio. This is a great story. I went to Ohio after one of these meetings. I was pretty upset because of the way somebody talked to me. And I got to Ohio, I'm talking to this teacher. They also have mask mandates in place, but they have goalposts. Oh my God, we have been begging for goalposts. And they say when the case data reaches a certain level, the kids get to take off their masks. We need to do something like that. If you are going to stand behind masks, and I'm not saying that you are, obviously I'm very impassioned about this, then there needs to be more. We need to ask for the risk-benefit analysis. There are serious physical and mental health implications because of these mandates. There are cognitive implications. This is serious business. This isn't just, oh, just a mask. Tell that to my little kid who crumbles at the idea of having to put one on her face, or to my son who comes home with a mask filled with snot and food and garbage, and he's afraid because his teacher will yell at him if he takes it off his face. You have heard all of that before. Silence is not acceptable. And being a yes man on a board of education where you are responsible for the entire community and not just the community that you might agree with is not acceptable. And if you've been doing something to help us out, then thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Crystal Fulton. I came to just say that Mr. Archibald, you earlier stated that our students are at the forefront of your focus. Then I would call for full suspension of the lunch monitor / bus driver pending a full investigation to protect all of the female students that have been involved. This will allow the girls to return to school and feel safe. I know that this is not appropriate protocol for the victim to be removed from the lunchroom away from her friends. And this protocol will make the girls feel singled out, where they will not feel confident to speak up for themselves when they are uncomfortable. Also, connected to all that, here in Michigan, Governor Whitmer signed a bill December 24th on a Monday that'll allow more school district employees, including administrative staff, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers, to serve as substitute teachers as long as they have high school diplomas. I feel that this is highly connected to the situation going on, and investigation definitely needs to happen. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Okay, I'm going to jump back to item 20 that I missed, which was a report from the South Lyon Education Foundation. Ms. Youngquist Pierce.
They are just starting out their year, always looking for volunteers for different committees. They are getting ready to put out the information for the annual scholarships that go to the students at both the high schools, so that will be going out soon. And I know they're contemplating a few fundraisers, 5K, fun run, possibly something with a couple of local businesses, so stay tuned because there are some great ways to support the organization.
Thank you. Item number 22, correspondence. We have a couple of resignations. Item 23, meeting dates for the rest of the year are listed there, which brings us to item 24, board comments. Mr. Leftwich, would you like to go first tonight?
Certainly. Just briefly, thank you for the recognition, Mr. Archibald. It's greatly appreciated. And if I could recognize a few people also, thank you to our board officers and for taking on those roles again for an additional year. We appreciate that. And if I could also recognize our district's administrators, teachers, and support staff for their just continued dedication to keeping South Lyon schools going and to keeping our doors open and to keeping education happening. You are recognized and you are appreciated also. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schwegler.
I guess I'll just keep it brief. I'm very happy that we're having continued success in finding replacements when needed, so that's always great to hear. And yeah, I guess I would echo your comments. It's a challenging work environment, especially when people do get sick so quickly these days, to keep things running smoothly, because it's probably not a smooth process. So for all of those that find a way to get it done, I just really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Abate?
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Archibald, cabinet team, thank you so much for this. This is very nice. I made immediate use of it, and it's been serving me well already. And thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your advocacy for the district, for our students, for our board, for the things that matter. We appreciate all the work that you're doing. Welcome to our new staff members. It's always exciting, and we have a lot of staff in the crowd tonight. So I don't have any words that are going to make your year any easier, but when I have the opportunity to say thank you, I'm going to do that. I know that you guys have gotten up every day the last couple of years, worked harder than you have your entire careers, stood on your heads to make all of this work. As the young man came up, was Mr. Campo, I believe, spoke earlier, said very well, being in person, having our kids in person, having, as you said, Mr. Archibald, having our kids have uninterrupted in-person education has been priority one for us. You make that possible, and just thank you. We appreciate it very much. And that is all that I have. Oh, and one more quick thing, youth assistants. What a wonderful group of people. And if you get an opportunity to take a look at their flyer, what they are offering, the variety of things that they're into to help our kids is pretty spectacular. So glad to have them come out and speak. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Yankelis-Pierce?
Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you to all of the parents and staff who came out today. We appreciate you. I want to thank Nico. It takes a lot to come here as a student and to speak, and I think he brought up some great ideas of things we need to potentially look at if we can open school stores again. Just some of those very simple things that can really help our students to feel like they're part of that community, I think is important. I think the lunch issues are just a challenge everywhere. We have a huge supply chain issue, so the variety that was offered in the past is just a huge struggle to get. And I'm sure, as we all know, we're seeing those emails regularly come out where the menus have to update. So kudos to that lunch staff who pivot on a regular basis to make sure that all of our students are served. Welcome to all of our new teachers. I'm excited about one. Mrs. Motley, I have known since and had the pleasure to meet. We've known each other since I was a freshman in high school, so a very long time. I'm not going to say the number of years. So it's great. Those art positions are very difficult to fill, and she, I think, is, Mr. Toth, you could correct me, but she's working between two buildings?
Correct.
So thank you, and welcome to all of our new teachers who continue to join our district. Thank you, Superintendent Archibald. I'll echo the thoughts of our fellow board members. We couldn't do what we do without your support, as well as Judy, who goes above and beyond on a weekly basis to get us all of the information and to schedule everything as required. Thank you to youth assistants. The services you provide, as Mr. Abate said, are just phenomenal and really a way for our students who are looking for ways to serve or something additional. It's a great, great organization to reach out to and potentially work with. We have talked in the past about the Oakland County Circuit Court. I said I would continue to follow along with that case. The judge ruled on the case on January 4th. An opinion was issued. Unfortunately, it was mostly on procedural issues, and I had talked about some of the problems that were in the case to begin with that were not resolved. They're really legal procedural matters. So unfortunately, MCL 333.2453 was not ruled on in regards to the local county health official, whether or not that particular law that gives them the power under the public health code is constitutional or not. There was another county where a different portion of the public health code was questioned, and that it needs to go back to the executive branch and the legislative branch to look at it. So unfortunately, we did not get a lot of clarity, and that Oakland County health mandate remains in effect unless there's some other case that comes up, but for now it is. I think everyone has brought up some good points, and we'll continue to look at how we can get some stronger metrics on that health mandate. It's something that I personally will continue to look into, because it is a bit concerning. When will we ever get into moderate and the overall effects on that? So we will continue to look at that. Thank you for all of the generous gifts. We can't do what we do without all of the support of our community. So seeing those outside programs supported is just truly phenomenal, especially when it comes to supporting families at Christmas. We know a lot of people are struggling, and it's just tremendous to see that that type of support was given. Lastly, I'd like to thank you, all of the teachers and our staff who are pivoting and changing what you're doing on a daily basis, giving up your prep time, and that's just time for you, even for yourselves, that a lot of us get in our normal day that you are not getting. So truly thank you for everything that you're doing. You go above and beyond on a daily basis, and we couldn't do what we do in this district without you. So thank you so much. And thank you to our administrators. Brian, we all saw you, Mr. Toth, on social media at lunch recess helping out. So it takes a village, and if anyone is looking and is qualified, substitute positions remain open. And I'll leave it to Mr. Superintendent Archibald to talk about it, but I do not believe it is the position of the district at this point to even consider the opening that occurred with only a high school degree, if I'm speaking correctly.
We would utilize that if we could. Unfortunately, it would create a shortage in other areas to take a parapro and put them in a classroom in an area that we're already short. So we don't see that robbing Peter to pay Paul is a viable option at this point.
Right. And we will continue, I guess, lastly, to look into the investigation that was brought up and make sure that all of our policies are followed and that everyone is supported in the way that we are. So we will let that go through, and we always look at ways we can improve or continue with the way that things are, but we will look into those matters because strong concerns were brought on both sides. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Mrs. Ertel?
Since it's our first meeting since the new year, Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a nice break. Thank you to all of the teachers and staff. I see emails frequently about, teachers pitching in when they need to fill in where there's a gap, taking their prep time as mentioned, pivoting quickly, finding enough guest teachers, which trickle down to other scenarios. If you don't have enough guest teachers, or if you've got guest teachers on long-term, they're not able to do other areas. So thank you to all of the teachers that are putting in extra. It's been a long 2 years or more, and I can't imagine, I know for a fact none of them went into this profession to do what they're doing now. So thank you, and hold on, we've got to be getting close. We just gotta. Thank you for the board recognitions. Always exciting to get a tumbler with a gift card in it. I will look forward to whatever it is, spending it somewhere, and actually keeping it. Since my daughter's away at college, she doesn't take my gift cards anymore. Thank you to, and it was mentioned that Ms. Yankelis Pearson mentioned about the cafeteria. One email that I think we see a lot is the menu changes, the supply chain issues, and then even the staffing issues at the cafeterias, and making sure that there's enough staff to even provide the meals for the kids. And I know that it's a challenge here. My daughter's at Central. They're having issues there. They can't keep all of their food in the dorms open. They have to stagger their openings because they don't have enough people. And where I work at Schoolcraft, we don't even have enough people to open our cafeteria at all. So thank you to our K-12 system that's able to do what they do to get things going in a short order and on a very small pivot. Welcome to the new teachers. That's always exciting, and wish well to the teachers that are moving on. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Back at it, keep track of all the athletics. Oh, the unified basketball team, so fun. It was such a great experience, and the kids and the peers kids were phenomenal. They just had, I loved whoever the announcer is. I mean, these kids got like the professional basketball announcement when they came onto the court to play their game. And I hear that there's other schools and districts interested in our unified team coming to play. So I think that's a phenomenal experience for our cognitive impaired kids to have that experience and to wear a uniform, and for our boys basketball and boosters to raise money for these kids to have their own uniforms was just a phenomenal thing to see, and brought tears to my eyes watching these kids out there having just a great time, and scoring points and just skipping down the court from one end to the other was just a real fun thing to watch. So keep track. We've got sports coming up. We got musicals coming up, choir events everywhere. So enjoy the rest of this semester and on to the next semester. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy.
I think spring should be happening soon.
Huh?
Spring should be happening soon,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It's nice to be appreciated, and we certainly appreciate hearing good things, and we do like to say good things because there are a lot of good things going on. Having said that, as tough as things have been, we have people like Doreen at Youth Assistance who we work so closely with. They're kind of the unsung heroes and the helpers of families and our students. Many people don't know what they do and how they do it, but it's amazing. We have new teachers on board. Welcome to them. Thank you for picking us. I guess we picked them, but they picked us first. And to our staff members and our guest teachers and all of our staff folks who help out, not just during their contract time, the time they put in at home, countless hours, and during their contract time, during when they're in the buildings, doing so many more things than just the basics of what are asked of them. They do things when they're not asked for just because it's the right thing to do. And it does not go unnoticed. So thanks, friends, family, colleagues. Good job. That's all I have.
Thank you. And I'll echo the same comments to the teachers. Thank you. We appreciate everything you've been doing. As I watch schools around us and pretty much all around us going remote for periods of time, we haven't had to do that. And it's because everyone's pitching in to make sure we have classes covered. So it very much is appreciated. The building subs, and really that goes for all of our staff, because I don't think there's a single area where we're not shorthanded trying to hire with no one to fill the jobs. So I know everyone's pitching in to do everything they need to run this business of a school that we have, and it is greatly appreciated. I do want to thank the South Lyon City Council for approving the Safety Resource Officer contract for the rest of the year. That will put a South Lyon police officer in the middle schools as a Safety Resource Officer for us. That's a great thing. I like that partnership is growing between us and the city. Nothing but good can come out of it. Also like to say welcome to the new teachers as well, and that is all I have tonight. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Leftwich, supported by Ms. Jennifer Pierce. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned at 8:43 PM.
Good evening.
Big time.
Yeah, dude.
Yes, that was huge.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't agreed with this in 5 years, but when that one came out, I was.
Okay.
The morning the agreement came out, we had a union meeting to show them the communications we were about to set up. And